Good evening. My name is Muhammad Ahmadi, and this is my first uh, video presentation for counseling competencies for multicultural counseling. I can say that I was really surprised by the depth and the science of what I read. Um, I actually read it twice. Um, there's so much information there. I did my master's degree in psychology and art, and I got a EDD in also psychology and art from Teachers College. So I thought I was close enough to the culture, to the multiculture between the diversity that we had at Teachers College. I could say that maybe half of the students in Teachers College were from China and or Korea, mostly China. And also we had a great diversity of um, Spanish American students, African American students. We had diversity in gender and sexuality. We had many homosexuals, lesbians, and even transgender. So I thought in the last 7 years, I have gained enough information about the multicultural society that I was uh, in relation with almost every day because I also taught some classes in psychology and art at Teachers College. However, reading the last two chapters, chapter one and chapter two, twice, um, really blow my mind that there was such a science behind this subject, and there is such a um, in such detail and categorization. So I was very surprised by the depth of the conversation there. For the presentation, I thought what could be better than going through the AMCD multicultural counseling competencies. And the most important subject that I have come across in my last two courses and as a foundation for counseling, and that's counselor awareness of own cultural values and biases. I am also a student of Carl Jung, and I have been in dream analysis for the last 6 years, and also have been educated by my mentor in Jung psychology. And that's one of the first things that Carl Jung put a lot of emphasis on is that the privilege of a life fully lived, an authentic life fully lived, is for the man to get to know himself. And of course, by saying the man, he means a man or a woman, the human being. And that is the most important part of Jungian psychology. If you know your shadows, if you know about your anima or animus, you would not be vulnerable to them. Carl Jung also says that what you do not know always has a hold on you. That's why you have to get to know yourself so you would not get caught in your impulses. In my culture, in my holy book, I was born and raised as a Muslim. In Quran says, "Wal asr, innal insana lafi khurs," which means God takes an oath to the length of the time that man is always in danger. If you do not have that awareness of yourself, you're in danger. Uh, in the AMCD multicultural counseling, it says it emphasizes mostly on knowing your own cultural values and biases, but in my other two courses, they were also matter of knowing yourself deeply, being able to make your unconscious conscious, knowing about shadows, and your shadows are the things you do not know about yourself. Anyway, I emphasize on that a lot because it's very important to me. Um, but over here it says attitude and beliefs. Culturally skilled counselors believe that cultural self awareness and sensitivity to one's own cultural heritage is essential. You have to know the truth inside you, truth about yourself, to be able to deal with others based on truth. Culturally skilled counselors are aware of how their own cultural background and experiences have influenced attitudes, values, and biases about psychological process. Culturally skilled counselors are able to recognize the limits of their multicultural competencies and expertise. Culturally skilled counselors recognize their sources of discomfort with differences that exist between themselves and clients in terms of race, ethnicity, and culture. It's all about the client. You are there for the client. You are there to keep your client in your best regard. So you have to be aware of all that. B, knowledge. Let's call culturally skilled counselors, CSC, have specific knowledge about their own racial and cultural heritage and how it personally and professionally affect their definitions and biases of normality and abnormality and the process of counseling. You have to know not only know the meaning of those values, but also the relationship in the counseling that you're doing. Culturally skilled counselors possess knowledge and understanding about how oppression, racism, discrimination, and stereotyping affect them personally and in their work. This allows individuals to acknowledge their own racist attitudes, beliefs, and feelings, although this standard applies to all groups. For white counselors, it may mean that they understand how they may have directly or indirectly benefited from individual, institutional, and cultural racism as outlined in white identity development models. What privilege I have, and I've been given just because of the color of my skin, because of my race, and because of my culture, because of the system that I've been brought up in. Culturally skilled counselors possess knowledge about their social impact upon others. They are knowledgeable about communication style differences, how their style may clash with or foster the counseling process with persons of colors or others different from themselves based on the A, B, and C dimensions and how to anticipate the impact it may have on others. If you know that you have the bias in yourself, if you know that there is a bit of racism in you, then you might find it easier because it's in the, again, remember, it's about the client, that you might refer that client to somebody else that would not have, maybe somebody of the same race, maybe somebody that it's more experienced, knows how to deal with it. That's the best you can do for that client. And again, this is based on the fact that you know yourself. So you have to be aware of that. Skills. Culturally skilled counselors seek out educational, consultative, and training experiences to improve their understanding and effectiveness in working with culturally different populations. Being able to recognize the limits of their competencies, they seek consultation, they seek further training or education, or refer out, just we were talking about, refer out to more qualified individual or resources. Engage in a combination of these. Culturally skilled counselors are constantly seeking to understand themselves as racial and cultural beings and are actively seeking a non-racist identity. Again, remember also we are trying to counsel in the image of Christ. Take Christ with you to that counseling room, not to promote him, but to work in his image. Counselor awareness of client's worldview. Okay, this is the second foundation of the cultural, multicultural differences. Attitudes and beliefs. Culturally skilled counselors are aware of their negative and positive emotional reactions toward other racial and ethnic groups that may prove detrimental to the counseling relationship. Remember, it's all about the counseling relationship, the diet that you make with your client, the transference and counter transference that you both go through. And that is special therapeutic relationship. Culturally skilled counselors are aware of their stereotypes and preconceived notions that they may hold toward other racial and ethnic minority groups. Knowledge. Culturally skilled counselors possess a specific knowledge and information about the particular group with which they are working. They are aware of the life experiences, culture or heritage, and historical background of their culturally different clients. This particular competency is strongly linked to the minority identity development models available in the literature. The knowledge, the base of knowledge is out there. There are experienced mentors out there. You could seek consultant. You could seek supervision. There is no reason for you to get to the counseling room without having the knowledge that you're asked to have, to be ready, to be in service of your client. Culturally skilled counselors understand how race, culture, ethnicity, and so forth may affect personality formation, vocational choices, manifestation of psychological disorders, help seeking behavior, and the appropriateness or inappropriateness of counseling approaches. It has to be all in there. It has to be complete. You have to be on your toes and you have to remember where you are and what you are doing. It's not just any job, it's a calling, it's a mission. culturally skilled counselors understand and have knowledge about socio-political influence influences that impinge upon the life of racial and ethnic minorities, immigration issues, poverty, racism, stereotyping, and powerlessness. How all of these may impact self-esteem and self-concept in the counseling process. You are there in a helping profession, and it's all about your client. You have to know all of this. You have to know what ails your client and how long it has been ailing your client. The country and the culture that he or she has come from, and what in that culture makes that client who he or she is. There is a other lists over here. There is one that it's about culturally appropriate intervention strategies, beliefs, and attitudes. Respect clients' religions or spiritual beliefs and values, including attributions and taboos, because they affect worldview, psychosocial functioning, and expression of distress. Also, respect indigenous, indigenous, I'm an immigrant myself, helping practices and respect help living networks among communities of colors. Being bilingual helps. These days, any ad you look for a job wants bilingual, because we have a lot more Spanish speaking people in this country that we used to have. And that allows you to reach further. Value bilingualism and do not view another language as an impediment to counseling. Monolingualism may be the culprit. Again, having a clear and explicit knowledge and understandings of genetic characteristics of counseling and therapy, and how they may clash with cultural values of various cultural groups. Culturally skilled counselors are aware of institutional barriers that prevent minorities from using mental health services. There is a lot that you have to be aware of. But again, as I said, this is not a job. This is a calling. This is important. You are almost being a healer, or trying to. So you have to be ready for it. I also looked at the video about spirituality. Again, the interesting part of, I personally came to spirituality through my culture, being raised in a Middle Eastern culture. There are sensibilities that, and there are environmental and elements that you're living with, listening to azan, which calls you to do your prayers 5 times a day, and also being a part of community that you stand next to each other and you pray and you share that blessing. But over here, my spirituality has been through learning about Carl Jung's psychology and discipline, and Carl Jung's psychology, contrary to what some people believe, has its biggest foundation in Christianity and in Christ as an archetype for us. And also, I personally believe that Christianity, with the sense of empathy that it has, I am my brother's keeper. I am in service of my brother. Christ washing his disciples' feet, having that humility that makes you more human. So there is a lot of a spirituality in Christianity, and in a way, again, I was brought up a Muslim, but I appreciate the fact that Christianity has so much empathy and so much humility in it. Is a peaceful, brought up as a peaceful religion. Turn your cheek. Who has not committed any sin, let him cast the first stone. All of these, and again, as a counselor, when you go in there with your client, you need to keep your values to yourself. You need to adapt to some of your client's culture so you can make your communication easier. And one of the best things that I read in I think in my foundation of counseling, one of the courses that I took was that take the image of Christ with you in there. Do in that room what Christ will do. Have the same empathy. You are your brother's keeper. That's why you're here. You have a calling, you have a mission. And spirituality brings that connectedness to you, that sense of community. Walking in the other guy's shoe, learning about him. So these are all related, and these are part of a rather extensive literature that I myself was quite surprised in seeing the work that has been done in the last 40, 50 years in that particular section of counseling, and the multiculturalism. We are a nation of many different colors, but we are all God's sons and daughters. You have to understand that and relate to it, that no matter what the other guy looks, what you are dealing with is trying to heal him, understand him. Knowing about his culture gives you that. Talk to him in his own language if you can. That makes it easier on your client. And be there. An image of Christ. Thank you.